Yeah. So I'm interested to know why you're running for Mayor of Townsville.
Well, it's not an immediate decision. I have always had this as my dream job. When I was 13 years old in Townsville, hanging out with my best mate Anna Reynolds at her house, I admired her mother, who was then a councillor and became senator, and I guess it was just always an internal feeling that I wanted to serve my community. And that has been my job my entire life, is non-profits, except for a stint in San Francisco on a ship, but of course it was a non-profit as well, a training centre for seamen and an expedition vessel. But anyway, and I said to her that was my view, and I've been encouraged ever since. I was invited to run in Tony Mooney's team, and that was during amalgamation, which was a very difficult year, and very sadly we lost Thuringowa, and I warned in that election and the one that followed that we would indeed lose the workers as well, and that's exactly what happened, was the workers lost their jobs. So I campaigned out in the Upper Ross, and I loved meeting that community. Unfortunately, I did not get in then, and the Jenny Hill full team got in. So the community did not vote for separate councillors. So it's always been my dream job that I would fully serve the community. And when this shotgun election came up and I looked at the nominees, there was absolutely nobody that I would vote for. And so I decided, and was encouraged so strongly by texts and emails and phone calls, other people who felt the same, that there was nobody to vote for, and asked me to run. So I spent a week deliberating on that. Quite frankly, I couldn't eat or sleep, and was down the Strand running one morning at 2 a.m. because I just felt this anxiety. I did a little AI check that I wasn't dying, and it wasn't a sign not to do it. And it said that when you take on a major decision, of course, that is normal. And once I made the decision and said, well, it's now or never, let's go for it, my stomach completely settled down, and it's been fantastic ever since, and extremely humbling to find so many people so supportive and so looking for a difference in a leader, a compassionate leader. I'm doing this because I know I have the skills. I'm a finance manager. That's my best skill, is managing budgets, making them balance. In the non-profit area, you don't necessarily aim for a profit. However, when I was general manager of Dance North, that's exactly what we did, and I increased our own earned income. I don't believe we should always rely on the government dollar, and there are ways to indeed encourage income in that form through an arts company with bottoms on seats. So I feel that the Townsville City Council needs to be run as a company, a business as well, and I don't think that's been happening.
Okay, great. And what is your stance on crime, on the problem that a lot of people bring up, which is youth crime in particular? What kind of, I don't know, policies or, what do you think should be done there?
It's out of control, and it's very sad to see our city's residents experiencing this. My family have been broken into. It's a frightening experience to have anyone in your home, and so I completely empathise with that. However, as a global traveller, and I was in Tibet and China and Vietnam this past Christmas, and speaking with young people travelling, and all ages travelling, every country in the world is experiencing an increase in youth crime. So then you have to do some research, and the Jordan's report that's just come out, and I can give people a link to that if they wish, has indeed reported that there's a lot of reasons for that, and globalisation, the movement of cultures across the planet, is often reacted to in a conservative, fearful way. I believe very strongly, because I lived in San Francisco 15 years, and the minute the mobile phone came out in 1994 there, when we started using a mobile phone, I began a little book because I saw the effect that the mobile phone had on just my friends group. Example, meeting at a coffee shop and suddenly you get a last minute text, oh sorry, I can't make it, yet we've lived in a time where if you made a commitment, you'd show up. But more than that, I saw a decrease in people's face-to-face communication. And when I came back to Australia, I recognised that in the public speaking training that I continued. I had my very best top A students who didn't want to pick up a phone and talk to somebody, who were praying that it'd go to voice message so they didn't have to talk. And these were my best kids. So that face-to-face communication has deteriorated in the last 25 years since the mobile phone. And the addiction that young people experience from it has also made them withdraw. I'll never forget Adi Prasad, who's the captain at Pimlico High School, who said, "Joanne, don't you realise we're all just depressed?" And frankly, the suicide statistics in Australia indicate exactly the same thing, and I find that shocking, and we have to do something about it. I'm very proud of the government for looking at social media and a ban, and all my mates in San Francisco are praising us. Friends around the world just think it's incredible that Australia's doing this, because that impact, I believe, has affected our kids. And I'd like to share with you, I had a student deliver at a North Queensland Rostrum Voice of Youth final, and anyone who was in that audience will remember Callum Miller's speech. And he was a kid who lived out in Condon, 16, and he talked about the homies and used language in there with the kids he was mucking around with. And he said straight up, you know, we white kids all go home and play Grand Auto Theft. We play our video games. But there are a lot of young people who don't have access to such. And so if that's the inspiration that kids are seeing, if you don't have the game, guess what you're going to do? You're going to play it for real out there. And I believe that you cannot underestimate the fourth estate of government, the power of the media. They're all on TV going, why is this happening? What's happening? But they are one of the primary causes of it in the promotion of violence. I said to the media the other day that I grew up with the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie. I mean, these were beautiful shows, and anyone who's listening remembers that it was positive and night night John John and all just lovely scenarios. I'm shocked when I watch Ninja Turtles that little 6-year-olds are watching. You know, I had a 6-year-old that, you know, all he wanted to talk about was seeing Silence of the Lambs. Now, don't tell me that a small brain that is not fully formed and isn't until 25 is not affected by that sort of violence that they're seeing. And I think we're seeing it across our community. So, cutting to the crunch, the solutions are not just police. And the solution is not locking 10-year-olds up in jail. The solution is a long term. Yes, we need to change our bail laws, most definitely. But we need new programs that address this. We need core programs that look at where are our youth activities. Used to be life be in it activities when I lived in Aikenvale, and a blue light disco at the PCYC. Where's all that happening? And maybe there are some fantastic youth activities, but I feel a council can be promoting those more. Let's look at our parks. Let's look at programs that bring people out of their house where they're watching TV and Netflix. Let's get them back into community like the Townsville that I lived in the 80s, 90s, and some of those essences were fantastic that we need to bring back to our city and motivate our young people positively, because we can affect youth crime. And working with the community and all the different blocks that are in our city, I know that I have the skills to bring together the youth groups, the police, everybody that's involved, and find solutions.
Well said. Well said.